I'm going to start by giving the definition of a show-up. And a show-up is an identification procedure in which an eyewitness is presented with a single subject in person for the purpose of determining whether the eyewitness identifies the individual as the suspect. I'm here today as a volunteer organizer representing Together Colorado. One of our goals is to reduce incarcerations by 40% over the next 10 years. We are working to gather support for House Bill 1142 today as one step towards that goal. We would like to thank Representative Bacon and Senator Gonzalez for partnering with us by sponsoring this community-led solution. Together Colorado would also like to thank Representative Weissman for his partnership with Together Colorado on this issue over the many years. Our organization learned about show-up identifications almost 3 years ago now when one of our members' son was wrongfully arrested for a crime he did not commit when the Denver police detained him through this show-up. You will hear his story later. We have conducted extensive research that includes case law, other state statutes, scientific evidence-based research. We interviewed and met with experts in Colorado and across the United States. Through all of this, we learned that both in Colorado and in the nation, there is little to no standardization on policies and procedures for law enforcement on show-ups, nor is there information reported. States are going beyond the U.S. Supreme Court case law and providing greater protections from the harmful and biased methods of show-ups. Show-ups are inherently suggestive and more likely yield to a false identification. Show-ups are racist in nature and disproportionately impact Black, Indigenous, and people of color, BIPOC, and low-income people. Most important, Colorado had addressed this issue in 2015 by passing legislation to create best practices for eyewitness identification. Those policies were scheduled to be reviewed 5 years later. What was missing was the requirement to adopt and follow those best practices. There is no accountability, no data collection, and no follow-up review with changes made to the public. Together Colorado was determined to make a change and set out to use the tools we know best: community organizing and relationship building. We started our conversation with Denver Chief of Police Pazin, DA McCann, and Attorney General Phil Weiser, and we held a public action at Shorter AME Church in Denver in November of 2019. We invited the community to come and learn about this problem. 600 people showed up. We called for Chief Pazin to change DPD's operations manual, training of officers, and to begin collecting data on the use of this biased practice. Chief Pazin agreed to work with us, and we have built a solid relationship built on mutual respect. Denver Chief Pazin and his staff listened to our research and our team's input. They continued to work with us as valued partners as they made changes to their show-up policies. He and his staff have rewritten their policies, started collecting data, and created an exemplary training video. As a result, Denver has just become the first law enforcement department in the nation to collect data on show-ups. But we know that making a change in one location doesn't solve the problem from all the other cities in Colorado. BIPOC individuals don't only live in Denver, and that is why we sought to bring legislation that will provide a statewide solution. We believe the state of Colorado is a national leader in police reform and can do better by creating a fair and just process for conducting show-up identifications and providing guidelines for admissibility in court. I would be remiss if I didn't thank all the many stakeholders across Colorado who met with Together Colorado on this issue. This truly is a collaboration of justice reform done right.